Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. B&B spoilers, will Carter and Hope's engagement be ruined by Thomas Forrester again? As Hope says yes to the charter, Thomas Forrester's European ears are burning. Hope Logan's love history is about to come crashing down, just when she believed she had finally found peace with Carter Walton. Thomas Forrester felt it all the way across Europe when Carter put that engagement ring on Hope's finger on May 27th. If we've learned anything about the Forrester men, it's that they don't give up easily. The incomprehensible timing. Let's address the most pressing issue. Hope spent months, denying Thomas's sincere suggestions. Do you recall those dramatic scenes? "I love you, but I'm not ready" after he's on one knee, giving his all? Following her divorce from Liam Spencer, she asserted that she needed time. Okay, fair enough? False. For what reason is she now accepting Carter's proposal? A passionate moment spent together again? People, the math isn't working. Thomas ought to have stayed another year if Hope simply needed time to recover. Then perhaps he would be the one arranging her wedding at this very moment. Why Thomas was ideal for Hope in reality? See, if we ignore Thomas's complex past, and sure, it is a big ask, the man was exactly what Hope said she wanted. He didn't waver between ladies like other people we know, he was totally committed to her. He was the only designer in Los Angeles who could prevent Hope for the future from collapsing, and he encouraged her to pursue her goals. For her, the man went above and above. However, she was unable to provide him with what he most desired. A pledge. A future. Douglas and a family. What's worse is Carter's betrayal. Things become pretty convoluted at this point. Carter really planned a revolution against the Forresters, yet even after Hope was fired once more, he continued to work at Forrester Creations. And she's prepared to wed this man? When Steffi Forrester claimed that Hope was manipulating Thomas, she may have been right. If you turn down a man who would take a bullet for you, how do you justify taking a ring from someone who essentially shoved you in front of one? Thomas will surely return. Once Thomas learns of this engagement, there is just no way, absolutely no way, that he will remain in Europe. Imagine him looking at the announcement on his phone, scrolling through it, and then just letting it happen. No way. He will return empty-handed, and he'll be on the first jet back to Los Angeles. No one, not even Carter, knows Hope as well as Thomas. He is aware of her shortcomings, her aspirations, and, above all, that she never truly let him go. Imagine this, Thomas doesn't show up to fight, but instead crashes the engagement party, because there will be one, of course. No, he brings the truth, which is far more potent. Perhaps it's a video in which Hope confesses that she still loves him. Given that Liam's final wish was for her to find stability, perhaps it proves she's only with Carter. The meeting we've all been anticipating. It won't be pleasant when Thomas and Carter finally meet. Carter will attempt to maintain his composure by stating that he believes in their love and that Hope picked him. However, Thomas? He is going to see through it. He will most likely add, "Yeah, and I believe in unicorns," before revealing whatever shocking revelation he has been keeping back. Because if Thomas learned anything from all those rejected proposals, it's that Hope doesn't say no when she means no, rather, she says no when she's afraid. What this signifies for the future of Hope. What happens when Thomas returns is the true question, not if he will return at all. Will Hope at last acknowledge the reasons behind her repeated refusals? Will she come to the realization that she was merely avoiding her actual sentiments by accepting Carter's proposal? Or will she make a stronger decision and permanently dismiss Thomas? There is little doubt that Hope will soon be caught up in the most chaotic romantic triangle Los Angeles has witnessed in a long time. In contrast to her past triangles, she is solely responsible for this one. She made her decisions. She drew her lines. When Thomas shows up to take what he feels is rightly his, her heart, she will now have to deal with the fallout. The imminent repercussions. There will be severe repercussions if Thomas returns, which, let's face it, he will. Steffi is likely to back her brother, which would exacerbate the conflict between Logan and Forrester. While his kid battles for love, Ridge will be stuck in the midst, attempting to maintain harmony. What about Brooke? She will be in full-on mother bear mode, shielding Hope from what she perceives to be Thomas's meddling. However, Carter himself may be the greatest casualty. The man who has always served as everyone's confidant, friend, and legal advisor is going to experience what it's like to be on the outside looking in. Because Thomas Forrester never gives up until he achieves his goals. What does he desire? Is Logan Hope? The million-dollar question. We're all wondering, then, will Hope continue to choose Carter, the stable but dishonest man, as the safe option? Or will she be reminded of their passion, chemistry, and indisputable bond by Thomas's return? I'm betting on Thomas. Because true love always finds a way in the soap opera world. Regardless of Hope's desire to acknowledge it, her relationship with Thomas was genuine. Thomas has her heart, even though Carter has the ring. Will Thomas Forrester ruin Hope Logan's wedding by returning to Bold and Beautiful? This week, Hope Logan, Annika Noel, and Carter Walton, Lawrence St. Victor, are getting married, so there's reason to celebrate on the Bold and the Beautiful. Someone might be aiming to sabotage their engagement as they are organizing their extravagant Forrester Creations wedding. Will Matthew Atkinson's character Thomas Forrester return to B&B? Read on to find out. Here are the upcoming events on the CBS soap opera. Be prepared for spoilers. Is Matthew Atkinson returning to Bold and Lovely? After Hope Logan rejected Thomas Forrester's marriage proposals and relationship demands, he left Los Angeles about a year ago. Everyone was taken aback by the Forrester heirs' reunion with Paris Buckingham, Diamond White, and their engagement announcement. The love of his life was obviously not ready to settle down, but Thomas Forrester was. Hope had feelings for Steffi's husband, Dr. John Finnegan, Tanner Novlin, when Thomas jumped ship. She eventually started dating her co-conspirator, Carter Walton, Lawrence St. Victor. When Thomas finds out that Hope Logan is arranging a wedding with Carter Walton but would not marry him, how would he feel? The Forrester heir isn't going to take the news well, and he may go back to Los Angeles to confront Hope, according to B&B spoilers. Given that she assisted in stealing his family's business, they most likely have a lot to discuss. Thomas comes back to grind with an axe. When it comes to Hope Logan, Thomas Forrester tends to go completely crazy, and he has always had an unstable side. His previous relationship with his Hope Logan mannequin a few years ago still causes trauma to all of us. According to spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Thomas's return to town may be triggered by Hope and Carter getting married. Do you think Matthew Atkinson should return to the CBS soap opera? How likely do you think Hope and Carter are to be married? Carter's rage, Hope's betrayal, and the agony of I do at the edge of the altar. Carefully designed and glistening with promise, the lavish venue for Hope Logan and Carter Walton's wedding serves as a heartbreaking memorial to dashed hopes. Just hours ago, the air was filled with the aroma of pricey flowers and excitement. Now, it is heavy with the oppressive aftermath of Hope's terrible betrayal. The revelation Hope had frantically attempted to hide, her passionate, covert kiss with Liam Spencer weeks earlier, caused Carter's enraged cancellation, which reverberated through the halls of the Forrester mansion or whatever opulent location housed their doomed vows. It wasn't just a postponement, it was a nuclear detonation on their relationship. Weeks of deception combined with this one act of infidelity have destroyed the trust that Carter laboriously established. The issue that is now plaguing every part of the B&B cosmos is, will Hope Logan and Carter Walton ever say I do? The road to that altar, if it ever comes again, is paved with unsurmountable barriers, unadulterated suffering, and the radioactive fallout from Hope's decisions. The unforgivable core, Carter's eviscerated trust and righteous fury. Carter Walton is not a man who gets angry easily. He usually acts composed, in control, and grounded. This heightens the significance of the volcanic wrath that erupted when Hope's confession was heard. Though the picture of Hope entangled with Liam, the guy whose shadow always hovered over their relationship, is surely burned into his mind, his rage was not limited to the kiss itself. The falsehood is the real, terrible heart of the betrayal. Every day following that kiss, Hope looked Carter in the eye. She talked about their love, their devotion, and their future while keeping this damaging secret. Even though she knew she had broken their link, she allowed him to organize the wedding, invite guests, and proudly appear as her fiancé. Carter feels humiliated in public and like the biggest idiot. In his view, the abandoned engagement ring was more than just a rejection, it was a representation of faith that had been reduced to useless metal. Given his own turbulent romantic past, Carter had complete faith in Hope, Katie. She was different, he thought, she stood for a steady, sincere affection. Her behavior has shown that belief to be utterly incorrect. It seems impossible to regain trust after weeks of deliberate deception that led to almost marital fraud. Carter has a severely damaged sense of self-worth. He promised not to be the pathetic cuckold, and in the eyes of many, particularly Steffi, who was aware of the truth, Hope's actions had placed him squarely in that position. His rage serves as a barrier to keep out the deep pain underneath. Hope would have to work miracles of repentance and openness before Carter would even entertain the idea of reconciliation, and even then, the question "what else is she hiding?" would never go away. The compounding disaster, the repercussions of the wedding cancellation. The cancellation itself is disastrous and has repercussions that go much beyond the couple. Public disgrace, the controversy is a tabloid favorite. Hope's secret kiss sinks marriage. Forrester COO jilts Logan heiress hours before wedding. Carter and Hope's private suffering is a public spectacle that has made Los Angeles buzz. Particularly for Carter, who cherishes his dignity, every pity look and hushed remark is salt in the wound. Family fractures, the already complicated alliance between Logan and Forrester is strained. In addition to being distraught for her daughter, Brooke is probably incensed by Liam's involvement and struggling with her own past. Carter's best man, Ridge, is caught in the crossfire and feels deceived on behalf of his friend. The breakdown of what appeared to be a sincere, happy union has devastated Eric, who was supposed to officiate, and added stress to his already precarious health situation. Liability and logistics, last-minute cancellations of a high-society wedding are a financial and logistical disaster. Contracts were signed for venues, caterers, and florists. Who pays for it? The humiliation? And further layer of tension and maybe animosity is added by this practical repercussions. Finn's involvement, Hope's betrayal and a near tragedy are directly linked by Finn's urgent medical intervention for Eric, which was made necessary by the stress of the cancellation. Hope isn't to blame for Eric's illness, but the connection is strong and harmful. Having seen the consequences firsthand, Finn casts Hope in a negative light and suggests a possible alliance with Steffi. The radioactive shadow, one last time, and Liam Spencer. Hope has added fuel to the fire with her post-cancellation antics. She went directly to Liam for comfort in her loss and humiliation rather than her mother or a friend. Their meeting wasn't a peaceful conversation. A night of fierce, desperate passion erupted from a supernova of entangled history, unresolved passion, mutual grief, and shared blame. This was a purposeful, primordial collision rather than a mistake brought on by champagne. Just hours after Carter kicked her out, Hope slept with Liam, not just as an ex, but as the man whose kiss led to her current turmoil. The symbolism is harsh. Hope looks for Liam's bed, Carter throws away the ring. Of all the acts, this one last time is possibly the most harmful. It unequivocally demonstrates that her bond with Liam is more than just lingering love, rather, it is a strong, destructive force that triumphs over reason, loyalty, and consequences. Carter's darkest fears would be confirmed if he found out about this, and he will, through Steffi, Thomas, or Liam's own guilt. It is obvious that Hope automatically goes to Liam rather than him when she is in the most agonizing anguish. It gives the impression that her previous kiss was merely a prelude rather than an anomaly. Carter is reduced to a stand-in, cast aside as soon as actual unrest occurs. In addition to being challenging, this act seems to be narratively nonsensical and a serious disrespect to Carter's character. Possible routes, peacemaking or unsalvageable destruction? Will they be able to bounce back from this? The routes are bleak. The reconciliation mirage, very doubtful, would need Hope's heroic endeavor, unwavering, persistent humility. Total openness, not waiting to be caught, volunteering the Liam encounter. removing Liam entirely, irrevocably, and clearly. Assuming full responsibility and admitting the extent of Carter's humiliation. Years of restoring trust brick by painful brick and demonstrating her faithfulness. Carter's near impossible forgiveness, getting past his deeply damaged feelings and righteous anger. Cutting off the voice that yells, "He's a fool." Having hope that hope could ever be genuinely faithful while Liam was still in her life. After this, I accepted the public's idea that I was the man who rescued her. Figuring out how to maintain his dignity while remaining with the lady who had deceived him so severely and then having an affair with the person who had humiliated him. External pressures, getting past Steffi's strong resistance, which was stoked by her allegiance to Carter and her own past with Hope and Liam. Getting past Ridge's disagreement. Living under continual scrutiny. For Carter's character development, taking this route feels like narrative suicide, making him a doormat. The likely path, the irreparable ruin. Carter's righteous stand, this is where Carter can make significant progress. He has the option to put his dignity ahead of a toxic love. The only way to restore his self-respect and dignity is to leave for good. Free from the Spencer Logan whirlpool, he can concentrate on his work, his friendship with Ridge, and eventually find a spouse who gives integrity and respect right away. Hope's decline and repercussions. Hope experiences loneliness. Brooke is disappointed but supportive. Ridge is chilly. Steffi is an adversary. Though he is aware of her toxicity, Thomas may sense an opportunity. Liam is a cause of instability rather than order. Her reputation has completely collapsed. The lack of hope and future in her personal life severely damages her hope for the future brand. She has to face the consequences of her actions and their terrible effects on Carter, Beth, and the family dynamic as a whole. Liam's tangled web. Any shaky harmony with Steffi is shattered by Liam's night with Hope. His marriage is probably ended. He and Hope are back in the tumultuous cycle, but he is carrying even more burden and remorse. He turns into the indisputable villain who swiftly ruined 2 relationships. Steffi's vengeance and the Thomas wildcard. There is still a hidden variable in Thomas Forrester. Though not completely gone, his fixation on Hope has subsided. Carter's departure and her vulnerability could spark his violent desires. In order to further ruin Hope's chances with Carter and establish himself as the only one remaining, he can try to comfort Hope or perhaps tell Carter or Steffi about the Liam encounter. Armed with information about Hope's night with Liam, either directly or through Finn's observations, Steffi is ready to vent her righteous rage. It won't be a quiet confrontation. She will use this information as a weapon to publicly undermine Hope's reputation and make sure Carter never turns back, standing up for her friend and denouncing the woman who continues to ruin lives through her relationship with Liam. The pain of I do, a conclusion. It is almost impossible to imagine Hope Logan and Carter Walton ever standing at that altar and saying I do. This is because of the devastating betrayal of trust, the public humiliation, the hasty rush to Liam's bed following the cancellation, and the fundamental incompatibility revealed by Hope's actions, her inability to sever the Liam tether versus Carter's need for absolute fidelity and respect. Instead of being postponed, the wedding was burned. Hope's treachery wasn't an accident, rather, it was a calculated jump from a precipice, and Carter was pulled down with her. Her decision to sleep with Liam later on wasn't a sign of sadness, but rather of the poisonous loyalty that truly exists within her. Carter Walton is deserving of respect, tranquility, and love untainted by the Spencer Logan saga. He would lose his knowledge, his dignity, and the primary themes of relevance that the plot is examining if he were to forgive this series of betrayals and wed Hope. Carter leaving Hope to confront the barren environment her decisions created, permanently scarred but ultimately stronger, is what gives the story its impact. The path to the altar isn't just blocked, it's erased. The eerie image isn't of them exchanging vows, but rather of Carter's abandoned engagement ring glinting icily on the floor and Hope standing alone in the wreckage of her own creation, the eerie echo of I do replaced by the deafening silence of I never should have. Carter's declaration that I do value himself enough to go permanently is the only I do that matters at this point. The lighthouse dims, Los Angeles's upcoming vapor and Steffi Forrester's coming departure. The news that Steffi Forrester, the unwavering heir, the strong guardian, and the complicated heart that is frequently at the core of the most powerful drama on The Bold and the Beautiful, is about to leave the show shakes the very basis of the program. The fictitious Los Angeles environment is forever shadowed by Jacqueline McInnes Wood's real-life maternity leave, which forces the story to end with a brief but incredibly meaningful farewell. Not only is Steffi departing, but she's leaving at a time of unprecedented emotional vulnerability and family disarray, creating a void that might topple the Forrester-Logan Spencer ecosystem as a whole. The spoilers hint not only at her absence but also at the terrible repercussions her departure will cause, the unsolved disputes that will remain brewing, and the desperate attempt to find balance in a society that has been abruptly stripped of its most powerful stabilizing, and occasionally destabilizing, force. Why Steffi's departure has such a profound impact today, the perfect storm. Steffi's possible departure isn't occurring in a vacuum, rather, it coincides disastrously with the most turbulent time in recent B&B history. The unhealed wound of Finn's death and return, Steffi is still healing from the psychological damage caused by seeing Sheila Carter shoot her husband, John Finn Finnegan. Despite being joyful, his miraculous recovery is tinged with trauma. Finn is recovering physically, but he is still emotionally damaged from his birth mother's deception and the near-death experience. His secure haven and main anchor is Steffi. Even a brief separation from her jeopardizes his fragile recovery and may lead to relapse, loneliness, or risky choices. Their reunion is new, and they have just begun to establish their new normal. For both characters, ripping Steffi away now feels inhumane and unsettling. The radioactive fallout of Hope and Liam's affair, Steffi is the irate, moral voice denouncing Hope Logan's treachery against Carter and her disastrous night with Liam that followed. She became convinced that Hope is poisonous and harmful after seeing her instantly run to Liam following Carter's rejection. Liam's ex-wife, Steffi, is the mother of his son, Kelly, and she worked hard to separate herself and Finn from the Hope-Liam tangle. Hope's antics have insulted Steffi's buddy Carter directly and pulled Liam back into disarray. Regarding the post-cancellation interaction between Hope and Liam, Steffi is the custodian of the damning truth. Her exit eliminates the character who is most committed to calling out this hypocrisy and making Hope responsible, which can enable Hope to manipulate the story or escape full repercussions. The most explosive secret in the program is Steffi's possession of the Sheila Carter time bomb. Sheila Carter is still alive and concealed in Deacon Sharp's apartment. This information is a crippling weight. Steffi feels that the only way for her family, particularly Finn and her kids, to truly be safe is for Sheila to pass away. Deacon, who is unstable and fascinated with Sheila, and possibly Finn, if he finds out, are left in charge of this combustible secret after her departure. The scenario becomes far more perilous in the absence of Steffi's unwavering will to restrain Sheila or remove the threat. If Steffi is gone, then who shields Finn from Sheila or the truth? Sheila has a horrifyingly high chance of taking advantage of Steffi's absence. Carter Walton's fragile state and the need for an ally are both broken. His self-worth is in ruins as a result of Hope's treachery and her quick shift to Liam. Steffi has been his strongest supporter, his protector, and the person who gave him the right to feel angry and hurt. She provided him with understanding and safety. At his lowest point, her departure eliminates his most important emotional support system, leaving him alone and open to manipulation, maybe by Paris, whose motives may not be totally good, or even more hopelessness. The Forrester leadership gap. Steffi is a pillar of Forrester Creations, even while Thomas continues to be emotionally unstable and Ridge and Eric deal with their own crises. Her design sensibility, particularly for the Intimates line, which is frequently intertwined with Hope, commercial savvy, and aggressive leadership are essential. Her withdrawal leaves a realistic power vacuum at the corporation, which might give Thomas more clout or put Hope in an awkward situation of increased responsibility that she isn't emotionally prepared for. Speculation on spoilers. How will Steffi leave? The authors must create an exit that is both appropriate for Steffi's reputation and representative of her present struggles. A number of believable, high-stakes scenarios are suggested by spoilers and narrative logic. The protective flight. Steffi makes the painful decision to remove her children, Kelly and Hayes, and potentially Finn from Los Angeles due to the ongoing threats, Sheila's ominous presence, Hope/Liam's havoc re-traumatizing her family, and Finn's fragile state. She cited the following reasons: to keep them safe, to find tranquility, and to give Finn a real opportunity to recover from the harmful reminders and threats. Using Forrester International's connections, this may be presented as a brief retreat to Europe or an obscure place. Above all things, her exit highlights her role as a mother and guardian. The breakdown and treatment, Finn's gunshot, his amnesia, his homecoming, his ongoing fear of Sheila, and the betrayal by Hope and Liam that reopened old wounds could all add up to too much. According to spoilers, Steffi may be experiencing a serious case of despair, a crippling PTSD episode, or an anxiety attack. In order to prioritize her own mental health and be resilient for her family in the future, she may need to check herself into a specialist treatment center. This would be a frank and exposed departure, revealing the unspoken price of her power. The explosive confrontation and walkout, the excruciating tension of the Sheila secret, along with the realization of the full depth of Hope and Liam's betrayal, perhaps personal facts or seeing them together again, could lead to a major confrontation. With a declaration that she will no longer tolerate this poisonous atmosphere, Steffi may vent her rage on Hope, Liam, and perhaps Ridge or Brooke for permitting the mayhem. In a dramatic mic-drop moment, she grabs her kids and departs in a blaze of righteous rage. The Sheila-centric crisis, Steffi might be forced to give in by Sheila. Perhaps Sheila learns that Steffi is aware of her existence and threatens her kids. Maybe Steffi approaches Sheila alone out of a desperate desire to keep everyone safe, which results in a violent altercation in which Steffi is hurt or has to run for her life. This directly links her departure to the main continuous thriller plot of the show. The Finn factor. Their tenuous reconciliation could be destroyed if Finn finds out Steffi's secret regarding Sheila's survival. A split may result from his intense anger and sense of betrayal. Steffi may leave Los Angeles with the children to start over somewhere else since she is devastated and believes she has already lost Finn. On the other hand, terrible irony is added if Steffi goes to shield Finn from the secret and he is unaware. The devastating ripple effects, Steffi-free landscape. Instead of being a peaceful void, Steffi's disappearance will serve as a spark for more mayhem. Finn's precipice. Finn is dreadfully lost without his rock. Will he revert to his sugar identity? Put himself in jeopardy to exact revenge on Sheila alone? Become deeply depressed? Become susceptible to manipulation, by Sheila, or even by a Paris who has good intentions but is misguided? His narrative shifts to one of dangerous seclusion. Hope and Liam's unchecked chaos. Steffi's departure eliminates the main factor calling for responsibility for their affair. Hope may attempt to conceal or minimize the whole facts from Carter. Steffi's harsh words would allow Liam to wriggle in his own guilt. Without Steffi's watchful, judgmental presence, their toxic dynamic may linger and possibly rekindle more readily. Carter loses his most outspoken opponent. The Sheila opportunity. Sheila overcomes her greatest challenge. Sheila might feel more confident now that Steffi is gone and Deacon might be hesitant. She might try to introduce herself into Steffi's children's life through Finn or Ridge, escalate her manipulation of Deacon, or even make a direct play for Finn, taking advantage of his weakness. The danger level soars. Carter's growing isolation. Without Steffi's ferocious companionship and support, Carter is left to deal with his agony of betrayal alone. He is therefore quite vulnerable. Will he have a comeback with Paris? Will he grow resentful and hardened? Without Steffi's stabilizing influence, his path becomes murkier and less definite. Unchained ambition. Thomas loses a vital balancing at Forrester Creations and in the family when Steffi isn't there. Even though it may be restrained, his fixation on Hope might have greater space to develop in the absence of Steffi's overt intervention or caution. He might take advantage of her vulnerability after Liam to gain more authority at work or to focus more on Hope. Ridge and Brooke's burden. Ridge and Brooke bear an even greater burden as a result of the family difficulties. In addition to managing their own marital difficulties, they have to cope with Eric's health, the fallout from Hope and Liam, Finn's instability, the Sheila danger, and the gap left by Steffi. They are under tremendous pressure. The Logan moral compass. Despite her shortcomings, Steffi frequently acted as a moral compass, demanding accountability and denouncing hypocrisy, particularly Hope's. Without her, the story runs the risk of losing its critical voice, which could lead to dubious acts being ignored or presented in a more sympathetic light than they merit. The prolonged shadow and the anticipated comeback. No matter how it is told, Steffi Forrester's departure will never be forgotten. Without her authoritative presence, Los Angeles will feel more messy, colder, and less safe. Without Steffi to address them head-on, the unsolved plots, Sheila's survival, Hope/Liam's fallout, Finn's trauma, and Carter's heartbreak, risk becoming more chaotic or stalling. The brittleness of the current peace and the widespread toxicity that still affects these families are highlighted by her departure. However, there remains hope for Wood's return. The unavoidable return of Steffi will be a significant occasion. Will her family be in even worse disarray when she returns? Will Finn succumb to his own troubles or Sheila? Will Liam and Hope be committed to a new relationship? Is Sheila going to have more power? There will be a great deal of drama when she returns. The character's tenacity, depth, and steadfast love for her family are essential components of the bold and the beautiful, and her return will be like a lighthouse piercing the storm. Until then, the lengthy, apprehensive shadow of her impending departure serves as a sharp reminder of how vital Steffi Forrester is to the show's core. Without their toughest guardian, the cliffs of Los Angeles will feel dangerously exposed.